First, I just want to give you a couple real quick reminders again about the business plan competition. So remember that you need to register online if you haven't already done that for your team. Registration goes up until March the 12th. You can put your team registration in and you can still edit it up until the 12th. So just remember, you can go back in there if you want to add members or that. You can still do that up until the time that closes. So if you want to get a start on that now and make adjustments later, you can do that. I know some of you had questions about that. Some of you are smiling about that. So, and then your first deliverable, your 4 to 5 page executive summary, is due March 26th. And remember, there's a rubric and there is a checklist on the website to help you prepare for that. And if you have questions about that, if you're not in a class that'll help you do that, let me know. Come see me, get some coaching, talk to some of the other entrepreneurship faculty in engineering or in business and get some help with that before you submit it. So, okay, so any questions about the business plan competition, what's coming up? Okay, great. All right, so tonight we're going to jump right into our speaker, and so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Rebecca. So Rebecca is a professional communications practitioner with more than 20 years of strategic communications experience in conceptual design, implementation, monitoring, and metrics of comprehensive integrated projects and campaigns for traditional media and digital platform initiatives. That was a huge mouthful. I'll tell you one of those, which is not on her bio, but I wanted to share with you that she, this past summer, was a Plank Fellow at Harley Davidson. So that'll up her coolness factor with you guys right away, that she is essentially a faculty in residence there. And so she's very current on marketing practices and got to have a Harley Davidson email even for a couple weeks this summer. So lots of cool stuff going on there. So in addition to her ongoing activities in industry, including consulting projects, grant-funded initiatives, and fellowships, she's a clinical assistant professor of strategic communications in the Edward R. Murrow College of Communications with an emphasis in public relations and digital media. She holds a bachelor's degree in organizational communications and a master's degree in integrated communication. In addition to teaching, she is the faculty advisor for the Public Relations Student Society of America, PRSSA, and faculty mentor to 2 disciplinary programs, the Boeing Scholars Program and the Harold Frank Entrepreneurship Fellows Program. She also serves as the director of the online MA in Strategic Communications Program. So Rebecca, like many of us, wears lots of hats here at WSU, and we're so thankful she came to share with you a little bit about web marketing tonight. So here's Rebecca.
Great to be here. It's exciting to always be in front of a new group. I have some familiar faces, and they're all in the back, and they're all going to hide. But I won't embarrass you. Yeah, thanks for that introduction. That was really nice. I'm here to talk to you guys mostly about converting web traffic. I was told that you guys are in this stage of your business plan process where you're ready to hear a little bit about working inside the online platforms, understanding how to put together your plans for your digital media strategies, really looking at how you're going to do search engine optimization and really optimize traffic to your online channels, as well as convert that web traffic into actual buyers, or at least people who are going to also engage with you as part of your process. So do they actually implement in the business plan?
They will, yeah.
Okay, so that's good. And I have a couple of classes where we've done full launches of campaigns and have had a little bit of budget, just a skosh, and been able to make up some really interesting results. And students seem to get the most kick out of watching Google AdWords because it's so crazy what one search term can do to your metrics in very, very, very short order. And even at a point where we launched Murrow Gear, pilot launched a line of merchandise. And we were watching every day. We were watching the metrics live as we watched Facebook get hits, the tweets getting hits, reposts, new likes, all of our ads, as well as watching real time our Google Analytics and our metrics on our website. And that was very new and fresh for the students, so it was really fun to be able to do that. So very focused topic. Even though my background is varied, I would say that my most comfortable area is in the online space. I also teach public relations, but my passion is actually in integrated digital campaigns. And I'm total metrics dork, and I acknowledge that. And one of the things I got to do at Harley-Davidson was introduce them to metrics, because if you can believe it, they were not measuring their traffic, which made me sad. So anyway, that was a very fascinating experience. So I'm going to cover 3 main points here. I want to start at planning. And forgive me if you guys already know some of this stuff. I'm not totally familiar with your full curriculum. So if there's some duplication, I apologize. Maybe I'll introduce something you haven't heard before. I want to talk about search engine optimization and analytics. And my understanding, are they going to get a copy of this also? I sent you guys the link, so feel free to enjoy her. I also have a little template for you if any of your teams want to use it for developing your brand message profile and your initial search engine optimization, and just kind of getting set up in that way. And then I'm going to close it out with online engagement and really looking at audience interaction and getting your desired audience to actually engage with you through, could be clicks, could be shares, could be likes, could be posts, could be commentary, all sorts of different ways that audience engagement happens. The focus of this talk is in the online environment. So just, full disclosure, I'm not really getting into traditional advertising, posters, billboards, that sort of thing. Do they do much of that anyway? Good. Online's more fun. Sorry. Dry mouth. Okay. So when you're doing planning, it's super important that you start with the vision. You have to look at what exactly are you trying to market, and you have to narrow it down. Just like is anyone in a master's program? When you're doing a thesis, you cannot do it on the world. You have to narrow it down to one topic. And that's what you have to do in your marketing. Even though you might have multiple audiences, you might have multiple products, you might have multiple features, you got to figure out what's your vision, what are you trying to market? What also differentiates your market from competitors and their products? What is it that you do differently? These are high-level questions at this point. Why would someone choose your product over somebody else's? Why? These are also called value propositions, core competencies, unique selling propositions. If anyone was paying attention in 101, that's where these came up. Why do people choose your competitors' products or services? It's actually really important to understand that, because if you don't understand why they're using the competitors, how are you ever going to understand why they would want to use yours? So you got to do that research. You also have to do the brand and message platform. I do this as part of both of my core classes that I teach at the undergraduate level, where they have to do a tremendous amount of brand and message platform work, and it goes across the gamut. So whether you are doing a product, or you're promoting a nonprofit, you're promoting retail establishment or retail item, it really doesn't matter, even a person. You have to do this first. Everybody, from my experience, especially in being a director of marketing for organizations that didn't have a strong marketing infrastructure, really finding out that they just want to go to the beauty shot really quick. They're super excited about the colors and the photos and the pretty website and the pretty glossy brochures, and they never ever step back and say, what exactly are we trying to do? What are we trying to say? Who are we marketing to? So this process is critical in establishing your position in the marketplace. So you start with the brand position, and that's just really looking at how do you want your brand to be perceived in the minds of customers. You're also looking at brand promise. What should customers expect from your brand? What do you think they want to see? What do you think they want to have? Brand drivers are identifying what the brand does better than anyone else. Those are your unique selling propositions. So you have to dig deep and think about, we had at University of Colorado, I had to market a graduate online engineering management degree program. And for me to find out what is our unique selling proposition, I had to dig pretty deep. And I had to look at things like, well, we were the only one that offered it 100% online in a 75-mile radius. Really specific. And we were the only ones that offered synchronous and asynchronous platform. So we had to go into this area very, very deep, very, very specific. Brand personality defines what your brand stands for And that looks at literally the way it speaks, the way it behaves. Think about tone, think about energy. What kind of emotions are you trying to evoke? What kind of energy do you want it to come off? What kind of reactions are you looking for? Are you looking to incite? Are you looking to excite? Are you looking to humor? What are you trying to do as part of your brand personality? With that, there are a couple things. You also have what's called visual attributes, and those are going to be your logos, or logo, preferably a logo, photos and graphics, video, your color palette. Very critical. If you guys go and look out at the WSU brand identity, you will see that crimson and gray. You will see the PMS, the RGB, the hex, all of those wonderful color variations. You'll see your primary palette. You'll see a secondary palette. You have to do the same thing with your brand, and you have to be consistent through everything, all across the board. And in fact, the template that you guys will receive after this presentation will force you into doing that exact process of actually picking what those are and then using them throughout. Also, font scheme, very critical. Header font, subheader font, body copy font, consistent. You want to be consistent, look, message, and feel across everything you do, especially when you're crossing all these different channels that you have. You've got web, you've got print, you've got social media, you've got email marketing, AdWords and Google Ads and all those different, you have tons of stuff. If you're not consistent, you're going to lose your audience real quick. That consistency is really, really critical. We used to do it all the way down to the emails that were sent internally, the letterhead. I was at people-to-people ambassador programs as their director of marketing, and we had a thing called One Voice. And One Voice meant that you had to use this language, this look, this feel, and everything you did, from the person who answered the phone to the guy who picked up the garbage to the president of the company. And if you didn't use One Voice in a meeting, you were asked to leave. They were brutal, yeah. Okay, also content strategy. I felt like I needed to mention this. Content strategy also goes in, it's more about your voice, consistency and voice. So kind of like that One Voice. One Voice is a fabulous concept. I'm a huge advocate for it. I think it has a ton of value, where you basically promote within the organization your core message profile and how you're going to articulate that in your verbal and in your written and in your emails, your digital, and having everyone at all levels of the organization adopt that. It's much harder than you think, especially if you've got some old school folks who don't like change. Editorial calendar is another big one. There's some wonderful tools out there. For you guys, they could try Sprout Social. They could do Hootsuite, if you have heard of these. These are wonderful tools for scheduling your social media. But there are others. There are other great editorial calendar tools that you can actually schedule out in advance all of your social media posts and get the metrics back on top of that, so you can actually see how they're performing and how they're doing with your audience. So, direct-to-consumer pieces that focus on a series of issues that you know the customer is interested in, and also asking yourself, what are they really buying? Are they buying this cup of coffee? Or are they buying my atmosphere? Are they buying my the relationships that they've developed with the baristas? Are they buying the free Wi-Fi? What are they actually buying? Because I just listed all the reasons I go to Thomas Hammer and it has nothing to do with that coffee. Because I could get that same coffee really anywhere. I'm not enough of a coffee connoisseur to know the difference. So I don't go to Thomas Hammer because of the coffee. So you have to make sure that you're not thinking just about your product. You're thinking about the customer experience, because that's really what you're selling. So even when you buy on Amazon, you have to think about, yeah, you might be buying the product, but if you have a crappy experience in that process, you're not buying anything from that group again. Then it's nothing about the product. It becomes about the customer experience. Really important. Okay, tactical plan. This is where everybody wants to start. They all, oh, I want that brochure. I want a flyer. I want an ad. I want to look like this person. I want to look like this company on YouTube. Drives me crazy. And I say, well, what's the message? What do you mean? They have no idea what I'm talking about. But campaign elements, this is the fun stuff. Social media, paid advertising, grassroots, web, multimedia, email, all the fun stuff that goes into that. touch point timeline. We're going to talk about, you guys get into lead management? Customer relations management? The lead, lead generation process, where you have the acquisition of the lead nurturing, the lead close. That's all part of this as well. And ensuring that you're monitoring and keeping track of every touch point that you have with your customers, from when they are before they're a customer, when they are already a customer, and when they're a past customer, because you want to keep that loop. And who gets all the Home Depot, Joann's, Bed Bath & Beyond emails? Because that's part of customer relations management. It's actually called drip messaging. And what that means is that you have been opted in to an email group, and you are having regular touch points because they want to keep you. And the only way you're going to get off that list is if you go in and opt out. Otherwise, you are in their loop, and you will continually receive the drip messaging. I have so much drip messaging, it's insane. And then also, of course, the dreaded budget and resource impacts. I define resource as facilities and people and technology. Anyone else? Did I miss anything? Resources. Technology, computers, software. Monitor metrics and reporting, what I would consider after messaging, the most important part, because my experience as a practitioner, and then you guys, more on the business side, will you be directors of marketing, business development, those sorts of roles? Yeah, ROI is going to be everything. You have to prove your worth and the work that you're doing. And the only way to do that is through monitoring and metrics and reporting. Analytics and search engine optimization, really critical. So one of the things I'd love to look at is having us as a university, business, engineering, and communications, teaching Google Analytics at a really intentional level at this institution, because it's so critical. And you can get certified in it, so lots of really cool opportunities with it. Constant monitoring, evaluating, adjusting. Your stakeholders are going to want reports, probably weekly, or if not, every other week. And then also assessment, where you're really looking at, okay, so I have these results, now what? You gotta look at what are you gonna do with them? And it's a constant period of adjustment. And I just highlighted a few things that you look for in metrics. So with online ad metrics, you're looking at the number of times the ad appeared, if people clicked on it. If they clicked on it, did they go through to the website? If they went to the website, did they go through and buy the product? If they bought the product, what did they buy? Keeps going. Social media metrics looks at likes, shares, comments, new posts, new friends, where you're trending, all sorts of things happening there. User demographics. I'm most impressed by Facebook's ability to narrow people down to literally what shoe brand they wear. You can get crazy information out of and break down your audience in a really, really intentional way in Facebook especially. Web metrics, new visitors, returning visitors, length on page, length on site, top visited sites. You can even figure out which browser they use, which kind of laptop they use, where their IP is, where they live. It's crazy. And the most important thing about web metrics is the user path. You have a desired path. It's called a conversion path. You want your user to do something when they come to your website. What do you want them to do? Lay it out. So you want them to come in, and there's a logical flow. At some point, you have a call to action. It's probably fill out my form, buy my product, give me a thumbs up, whatever. You have those conversion points, and you identify those. And the metrics help you measure whether or not your conversion points are even accurate, because you can literally measure user behavior. And then also email metrics, which is one of the, I love email metrics. Constant Contact is an email client that I use in my classes. And they create these beautiful HTML emails, they ship them out, and you get to measure how many people opened them, those who opened them, how many clicked through to the call to action, how many people forwarded it, how many opted out, how many got bounced. There's all sorts of really fun metrics that you can do in email. And you can't do it in Outlook, unfortunately. Okay, so that was planning. So I'm gonna just keep going, yes? Okay. I don't even know what time it is. How are we doing? We're all good. Search engine optimization. I wanted to differentiate for you search engine optimization and search engine marketing. The easiest way to define it is SEO is organic and SEM is paid. Okay, so your SEO those are the people that go into Google, Bing, Yahoo, and they're typing and they're looking for these keywords and they want to find out about X, Y, and Z. And then organically through, if your search engine optimization is set up properly, they will find you. Search engine marketing is companies that have paid to be found, basically. And the more they pay, the more likely they are to be found and to be seen. And so they get into this cost per click business. And so when you type in keywords that hit their ads, they're then measuring what you're doing with those ads. And they only get charged when you click. So you can be really mean and go out and click, click, I don't encourage that. Don't do that. Okay, so what does it take to get your company higher on the search list? 5 things. Words. I'll explain that. Titles. Links between websites. Google has a very, very specific algorithm that they use in order to decide how people are going to appear on a search list. It's very, very specific. And links between websites are one of the many ways that you can up your credibility, as you're not just there for yourself, you're also linking between websites. Words used in links, so the links themselves. So click here, bad. Means nothing. Use keywords, and that's what they're clicking on. Very important. Reputation. So Google blackballs people. Or companies, I should say. And the way that they do that are those, if you probably have heard of link farming, there's people who have some shady operations where they're basically just trying to flood the market with people looking like they're going on all these sites to technically up their cred. They're noticed and they get the boot. There's a formula, very specific formula. It's not that magical, but here it is. The SEO formula, page title, which is right here. Page title. This is the Apple Store's SEO. 70 characters. You can't do more than that. It'll cut you off. Well, it's not really true. What it'll do is it'll ... It looks weird. Page description, 150 characters max. This is your page description right here. Buy iPhone, iPad, and Mac from Apple Store. Browse accessories, connect with an Apple specialist, and get free shipping. When I teach this, I never want to see ... I want it to be clean. I want it to finish. It's like your own little ad. Keywords, 10 per page, separated by comma. It's embedded. You can't see it, but you can see them here. Apple Store, Mac, iPhone, iPad, iPod, accessories. Those are all keywords you put them in. Also up here, iPad, iPhone, Apple. Those are keywords. Key terms and phrases are embedded into the description. And that's how it comes about. Every page, you have SEO. Every page. So when you have to go in and fix somebody's website and they say, can you build SEO into it? Make sure you ask how many pages. Because I had to do one on 600. It's super fun. Just a warning. So when planning your SEO strategy, be prepared to create that SEO formula for every page. Every page. You can also maximize that SEO by incorporating keywords and phrases into headlines, lead copy, basically your first paragraph, your subheaders, alt tags in photos. So when you're uploading, did it die again? No. When you're uploading photos to your website, at least I think of WordPress or Wix, two that come to mind, you have a space for alt text, description, in caption maybe, alt text and description, get those keywords in there. That'll help in your search. It'll help in your optimization. Also, you will meet ADA compliance. Why not? Good idea. Descriptions in photos and PDFs, as well as the alt tags. Also the link names, which I already mentioned. No click here's, no click here's. That's SEO. Very high level SEO. Then you have engagement, getting these folks to actually engage with you, getting your web traffic to convert, getting people into it. But I have to, my disclaimer is you have already planned. You have already created your message and brand strategy. You have determined your tactical plans, and you are at least poised to build in your SEO and Google Analytics into your all of your digital tools. So it's all of it. That now you can engage. A lot of people, what they want to do is they say, I'm going to create that Facebook and Twitter page and I'm going to go. And that's a total waste of time. Or want that beautiful website because Wix, oh man, can they make pretty websites? But no message, no plan, no editorial calendar, waste, just waste. Or even worse, inconsistency. Through it all, you will be analyzing and refining, tracking and reporting, monitoring and adjusting, always, continuous. Okay, so getting into engagement. So you have social media. Obviously provides a platform so you can go directly to your customers, reaching them at some great levels of intention in your message and what you're putting out there. You want to make sure that as you're putting it out, that you're staying consistent, brand message field. There's no point that you suddenly decide that you have a new logo or a tagline that you're just going to make up. There's no point that you say, our colors are now pink and yellow because I think it's neat. No. Consistency all the way through. Excuse me. So there are so many different social media tools out there. I say default, if you don't know and you're trying to measure and track, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter are really great places to start. But if your audience is a little bit younger, watch out for the 14-year-olds on Vine, Instagram. That's where they are. So it depends on your audience. If you're after my mother, sorry, she's still on AOL. There's not much I can do for you, but you could try her on Facebook. She might pin you or something. She doesn't know. Pinterest, YouTube, but actually I really encourage blog posts because it's the greatest way to matriculate your web content without having to matriculate your web content because it's fed and it shows up automatically, so it's really great. So the things that you want to do in social media, you want to boost your posts, you want to spark dialogue, follow competitors, big time, follow competitors. They're following you. Respond to posts, comment regularly. Create original content, God forbid. Optimize posts using your keywords. Use tools like polls and surveys and contests. They're very effective. And follow those who meet your audience criteria. And the other thing I didn't really put in here that I should have is you really, really want to use video and photography. Very important. I don't remember the stat offhand, but it's ridiculous. It's like you increase your engagement by 75%, I think. It's insane. So converting web traffic, best way to do that, offers, calls to action, and the use of landing pages for campaigns. So when the Apple Store, or Apple, has a new version of the iPhone and it comes out, you're going to go to their apple.com and you're going to see it promoted. But then you're going to click into that iPhone and you're going to come up with a whole other page. It's going to have its own global navigation. It's going to have its own marketing messages, its own photography, its own whole thing. That is called a microsite. Very intentional. The idea is you have your mothership, and then you have all the little children, and the little children are the ones who are selling your products. So you want to have microsites for campaigns because you can track and measure directly to those campaigns. You can also have unique URLs or what they call vanity URLs that when you're doing your marketing and promotions, you can link people right to those sites and target your message, target your audience. Also a really great way if you do have multiple audiences or you want to kind of do some A/B testing, you've got men versus women, teens versus moms, landing pages, greatest way to do it. So also if you're doing like multiple products, it's a great way to do it. And Google Analytics now has a way to package it all together and then spit out these great reports that do comparisons and all sorts of really cool bells and whistles with that. You want to nurture your leads by developing relationships with potential customers. You want to send targeted, relevant, and valuable messages to them in a timely manner, because the end goal is to get those leads to raise their hand, self-opt-in, be interested, and engage with you. That's what you want. So nurturing leads basically just means that you have a regular touch point system with them, that you're listening to them, that you're responding to them through your social media, through your requests, that sort of thing. One of the biggest advocates and hurts for organizations now are the customer comments, big time. And so it's important that organizations address those, both positive and negative, and not delete what we don't like to hear. Also, to not forget to optimize for mobile. So how many of you have gone to a website on your phone and you want to cry? It's so horrible. It's because they haven't optimized it for mobile. There's several ways to do that. Wix has a wonderful feature where it actually creates your mobile site in tandem with your desktop site. Very sweet, very fun. But if you're not in that, then WordPress now, none of their templates are not in responsive design. And responsive design basically means that no matter what dimension you're at, whether you're on a little phone or you're on a tablet or you're vertical or wherever you are, your site bends and twists and forms to that. So it's really, really impressive. Mobile CSS, that is cascading style sheets. Sorry, didn't mean to put a jargon in there. To change the way that your website is organized and the way it flows and it functions. And I said responsive design. Those are really great ways. I think optimizing for mobile should be right up there with doing SEO. There's no point where you say, well, I don't feel like it. Well, that's neat. You can not feel like it, but I think 80% of your users are going to be on their phone, so they're all going to hate you. Nothing personal. Forrester research study found that companies that excel at lead nurturing are able to generate 50% more sales-ready leads at 33% lower cost per lead. Really great stat. So nurturing leads is just, it's so paramount. And then I wanted to just give one note on blogs. So WordPress is my recommended blog tool. Blogspot is wonky. Wix is very sweet, but their interface for blog, so it's terrible. WordPress is awesome. I recommend that one. Bullets, short declarative statements, bolds and itals, use of photos, video links, pictures, boxes, quotes, short paragraphs. Blogs are a great way to give your CEO a voice, to give your marketing messages validity, to further expand on things that are happening within your industry, and to be able to comment on that intelligently. Free form, free flow, reflective essay style. It's just a really great way to do it. And you don't have to, in fact, you don't want to make it too marketing salesy. You actually want to make it really much more written toward the audience. Very high touch.
My question is about your metrics that you put up. You put up metrics about email, and I understand a lot of the ones that are like web traffic and stuff like that. My question is, how do you are there tools out there for getting metrics specifically on email? I can see a lot of them, especially the social media stuff, especially like the blog post stuff. Yeah, of course you have analytics that are built into your website or into your social media, but how do you do analytics on emails?
So the answer to that question is, I'm hoping that Outlook and Gmail and CompuServe or whatever, who's at Comcast, I'm hoping that they're going to get on the bandwagon here and develop metrics tools inside of their email client, but not yet, right? So what you have to look at is clients like Emma and Constant Contact, Vertical Response. Those are all popular. There's others. Those are the three that come to mind right now. And basically, those are tools that you design HTML or text-based. You could do e-newsletters, or you could keep them really simple. You can incorporate photos and videos and all sorts of things. You can also really build in your brand in these clients. Relatively inexpensive. If you guys wanted to try them out for your teams, they could do free trials on all of them. They're very cool. You build your database comes into that system. Even better, Salesforce.com. Do you guys teach that? Ooh, I love Salesforce. Ooh, I want to be on the committee. I love Salesforce. Salesforce is, I think most of these folks are going to be on it when they're in business. It is what's called a CRM, customer relations management tool. Lead management, lead nurturing, lead close, all of that managed in that process. It's every single touch point from phone to face to email to, oh my gosh, everything. Great tool. And it is actually integrated with Constant Contact. And so your database is actually managed through Salesforce and tracked through Salesforce. And you assign salespeople to different clients or different types of clients based on sort of their profile. And then when you send emails out, it actually comes from Salesforce and it's tracked and measured. But and Constant Contact is my favorite, just my personal favorite, because I really like their interface, and I think that they've been around a long time, and they've listened to customer response, and they've done a good job. And now they also have a tool that you can actually, if you have an event, for example, from the beginning to the end, the invite, the save the date, the website, the registration page, it's all booked into one tool. In fact, I did an assignment last semester where students had to design an entire event, and they had to create every single piece, including the website at the end. And it was all done inside the tool. So really, really nice. They're just growing. It's a really good one.
So I have a question about blogging. So for example, when you try to market, would you consider to like hire a professional blogger or just like send out product, or like which one would you prefer, I guess?
I think if you're going to do that, you got to do it with great intention, and you want to check the credibility of those individuals, because I could see them getting smarmy really quick. And like basically, like Consumer Reports, right? The reason that people trust Consumer Reports is because they don't have they won't allow, anyone to own them, right? And I worry about somebody who's like, well, if you pay me this, I'll plug your product. So it feels icky. So I'd be really careful about it. And I think you could do that, but you'd want to find trusted partners. I think about Seth Godin, David Meerman. These are probably books you guys are reading as well. They won't pitch products unless it's fully organic, like that they came across something and they experienced it and they really enjoyed it, and then they'll put it out there and they'll say, I'm really excited about this product or this campaign, but it's not done in an advertising way. So I guess my response is cautiously, but there are other ways. Yeah.
When you talked about getting clicks on your site or visits to your site, those sort of ad campaigns, sort of like Lay's is doing right now with the pick the next flavor, or those various ones where we're going to put out a new product, choose like the color, or like we're putting something on our label, choose it. Are those versions of like campaigns that are very good for getting your name out there, in your opinion?
The big brands have an advantage because they already have that brand loyalty going. But those are really effective. People get into it. They even have, you think about the Ice Bucket Challenge, like that went nuts, right? And there's no guarantee of it going viral, but it's a great way to get people who care about your product excited, get them into it. Having some kind of incentive built into it is also great. But hashtag campaigns, highly successful. Campaigns that say, hey, give us your opinion. We want to hear from you. The campaigns that say, hey, take a picture of yourself in this and post it and we'll pick a winner, and all that kind of stuff, really, really effective. So I'm a fan of those. As long as they're not done too, everything needs to be done with intention. It needs to be within brand. If it doesn't fit your brand, if that's like way off track, you got to just think about how you're going to explain that when people start saying, why are you doing this? This is, are you selling out? So you want to make sure that it's still in line with your kind of your whole, not just your brand message, but your whole brand platform, and who you are as an organization and who you are as a product.
This one is about legality and ethics. So I can think of a number of ways I could go around tracking user data that might not be fully ethical and might not be fully legal. And so I was wondering, can you talk a little bit about some of the lines in the sand that have been drawn regarding legality, and then maybe get into the ethics a little bit?
So I'm not a fan of like getting, working around stuff that isn't already in place. Like if you're working with Google Analytics, they are an ethical practice. In fact, they're sort of pride themselves on that, but there's some question on what you consider ethical, because Facebook now has some access to stuff, right? Twitter has some access to stuff, and people are struggling with that. So I don't know the absolute clinical answer. Do you know the clinic?
No, and I think some of them have computer science background.
Yeah.
Have abilities
Sure.
beyond
The
what-
hackers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of. So.
It's a tough question to ask. I would say that using data responsibly, and I don't know. I think that's probably worth a discussion. But I'd like to call. Can I call in Beth Hinman, who knows ethics very well? I don't know enough about all the ethics to speak really intelligently about it. I just know that there are ethical principles that at least we in the communications department, that we are held to this crazy high standard on ethics. And if you breach that, you're just credibility, reputation, it's just not worth it. Well, there's a whole bunch in copyright fair use with regard to images, video, audio, and who owns that. And there's some wonderful links I could share back with this with your group on ethical practices with use of photos and things. And Google now has a really great, in the Google Images, they have a great tool now where you can actually go in and search for images and I think audio and video, or audio and maybe video as well, that is under Creative Commons, or that doesn't have license issues, and or has license issues if it's for nonprofit, or license issues if they will let you modify or not modify. So there's some really great new search capabilities, and I just updated that actually for my 310ers, so I can share that with you guys too. Yeah.
So when you capture someone's email after you've driven them to your blog or your website, what's that first type of contact that you should reach out with them with email marketing?
Well, if you're a really good organization, you have an auto email that goes right to them that says, "We're so happy to have you." But after that, it depends a little bit on what you're trying to do. So you want to immediately make connection. You want to immediately foster relationships. You probably want to get a little bit more information from them, because usually that first email, they're giving you basically email address, maybe first, last, but you don't know much more about them. So you want to get their demographics. You want to learn a little bit more about what their buying needs are, what their interests are, small surveys, that sort of thing. I do not recommend calling them. I will give a 555 every time. I don't even bother with phone number on the forms, because I won't give a real number, even when I want to be a customer. No, I won't do it. So yeah, basically, it's your best opportunity right then to gather more information about who they are and the type of customer they have the potential to be. Not sales.
So you don't recommend having any kind of a sales message to them?
The only sales message I might suggest is that you make them aware of how they can learn more about certain products, but that you're not actually pitching anything specific.
In regards to SEO versus SEM, which one is more important? Or do they just kind of go hand in hand with each other?
So I don't know if I can say what others would say. I personally think SEO is most important, that you want to be organically found. That is by far, you're going to go the furthest if you are able to have your customers reach your sites, your social media through organic searches, their keywords, their personal experience. Where SEM, it's paid, and so the chances of reaching that customer who's ready to buy, most of us who are modern consumers, we do our research. We've made the decision to purchase that product long before we saw the ad, or maybe we never even saw an ad. We're already doing that research, and we're doing that research through organic searches primarily. I rarely click on an ad. Sometimes maybe in Facebook I might click on something that is of interest, but I think SEO for sure is what you want to aim for.
How do you compare SEO to an email marketing campaign? So for example, Amanda asked about an email marketing campaign. So are they more likely to find you through search engine optimization, or through they opt in, they get an email in their inbox, and then they click on a link in the email, a promotional campaign in the email that takes them to more selling material?
SEO, I guess I wouldn't compare the two because SEO should be embedded in everything you do online. So SEO is critical no matter what. SEO is also built into your emails, just as it would be your website. So you're building it into your subject line. You're building it into your body copy. You're building it into your links. You're building it into your alt tags if you have photos, videos, PDFs. So it's always built in. So they really should go hand in hand, honestly, yeah.